Hey everyone, and welcome. You ever find yourself acing a math test in class, only to get totally thrown by the SAT math section? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. So today we're going to demystify this thing. We're going to tackle the most common and, let's be honest, the most frustrating traps that even the sharpest math students fall into. All right, let's get into it.
I just love this idea because it really gets to the heart of what the SAT is all about. See, the test isn't just about how much math you know. It's a test of your mental discipline. That top score, it doesn't go to the human calculator. It goes to the student who has a system to spot and head off mistakes before they can even happen.
And that, right there, is the million-dollar question. What's the secret sauce these top scorers have? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not some hidden, complex math formula. It's actually way simpler, but also kind of more profound than that. It all comes down to perspective.
So here's the real deal with the SAT math section. It isn't hard because the math is super advanced. Nope, it's hard because it takes concepts you already know, like basic algebra, and presents them in ways you've probably never seen before. It's a test designed to see how you think, not just what you've memorized.
Exactly. You got to think of the SAT like a maze. The right answer is in there, but so are a bunch of traps. So think of this explainer as your map. We're going to reframe how you look at the test, turning those dead ends into wide-open paths so you can show them what you know.
And to do that, we're going to sort all these common mistakes into three main buckets. First up, we've got mistakes of perception. That's all about how you read and interpret the question. Second, mistakes of execution. This is about how you actually perform the math. And finally, mistakes of strategy. That's the big picture, how you manage your time and tackle the test as a whole.
All right, let's kick things off with perception. These are the kinds of mistakes that trip you up before you even start doing any math, just by misunderstanding what the problem is actually asking for.
Okay, let's start with probably the simplest and honestly one of the most brutal traps on the entire test. What have you been trained to do since like day one of algebra? Solve for x. It's just muscle memory at this point. And trust me, the people who write the SAT, they know this, and they use that instinct against you.
So this is how they get you. You see an equation, your brain just goes on autopilot. You solve for x and get 3, then you look at the answer choices, and what do you know? 3 is sitting right there waiting for you. You bubble it in, you feel great, you move on. But hold on, the question didn't ask for x. It asked for the value of 2x. The real answer is 6. This one little trap catches thousands of really smart students every single test. And the fix for this? Oh, it's so simple, you're gonna love it. Before you do any math, just take 1 second and with your pencil physically underline or circle the actual question. What is the value of 2x? What is the sum of a and b? This tiny little habit is like building a firewall against that autopilot mistake.
All right, next up in the world of perception traps, let's talk about those sneaky graphs. The visual data on the SAT can be really misleading if you're not paying super close attention.
So before you even try to understand a graph, run a quick 3-point check on it, every time. First, check the scale. Is the x-axis counting by ones while the y-axis is jumping by hundreds? Big difference. Second, where's the origin? Don't just assume the axes cross at 0, 0. They love to shift it to create a phantom y-intercept to trick you. And finally, read the labels. Are we talking about total dollars or dollars per hour? A few seconds on these checks can save you from a totally avoidable error.
Okay, so you've read the question perfectly. You've checked out the graph. Now it's time to actually do the math. This brings us to our second category, mistakes of execution. These are those little nagging errors that happen when the pencil is actually moving.
Exponents. They seem so simple, right? But man, under pressure, it is so easy to get the rules mixed up, and that can cost you some really easy points.
So let's do a quick rapid-fire review to really lock these in. When you multiply terms, you add the exponents. Got it. When you raise a power to another power, that's when you multiply. When you divide, you subtract. And the one that gets everybody. Don't forget to distribute that exponent to everything inside the parentheses. That includes the number out front. Getting these 4 rules straight is a guaranteed way to pick up points.
Now for a very modern problem. You know your calculator. It's supposed to be your best friend on this test, but sometimes it can be a real crutch. Relying on it for simple stuff can actually slow you down and, believe it or not, open you up to more errors.
And look, the numbers here don't lie. For a lot of basic calculations, your brain is way faster and more accurate than your fingers trying to type into a calculator. I mean, think about it. Every second you save by not typing in 15 times 10 is a precious second you can now use on a much harder problem later. The key is to use your calculator to confirm your work, not to do the work for you.
All right, last but definitely not least, let's talk about strategy. This is the big picture stuff, how you manage your time, your energy, and your focus for the whole section.
You know, one of the biggest mistakes I see students make is thinking there's this one-size-fits-all approach to pacing. There just isn't. The best pacing strategy is like a custom-made suit. It has to be perfectly tailored to your personal score goal.
Okay, so let's get practical. If you're gunning for that 750 or higher, then yeah, you need a game plan to attack every single question. But, and this is really important, if your goal is, say, a 650, it is actually smarter to focus your energy on getting all the easy and medium questions right, instead of rushing through everything and making silly mistakes. Give yourself permission to spend more time on fewer questions. And no matter what your goal is, always build in a little cushion. Try to get a few more questions right than you think you need, just to be safe.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. We've talked about perception, we've talked about execution, and we've talked about strategy. So now, let's pull it all together into a simple system that you can actually use on test day.
We're going to call this the 3R system. It's a super simple mental checklist to run through on every single problem. First, read. Slow down and underline what the question is really asking for. Second, reason. Before you even start calculating, just think for a second. Is the answer going to be positive, negative, a big number, a small one? Get a gut check on what a reasonable answer might look like. And finally, review. Once you get an answer, do a quick sanity check. Does my answer even make sense here? This little 3-step process is your ultimate safety net.
And that leaves us with one final, really important thought to chew on. There's a huge difference between just being good at math and being good at the SAT. To really succeed, you have to practice for the test itself. You have to learn its patterns, its tricks, its traps, and its unique way of looking at things. Master the test, and you will master your score.